Hi, I'm Shelley Young, owner of the Chopping Block, and today I'm going to teach you how to make chocolate mousse. The most important ingredient, I believe, in chocolate mousse is the chocolate itself. We're using a dark chocolate today. This chocolate is Calbo, and you can use another great dark chocolate if you can find it. You could use a semi-sweet too if you prefer. What you want to know about chocolate is the darker the chocolate, the more chocolate's in there. Usually on chocolate nowadays, they give you a percentage of cocoa. The higher the percentage of cocoa, the more chocolatey taste. And I think in a dish like this or any baking, the more chocolatey it is, and people love that. These little chips are great too. They melt really easily, and we're gonna melt the chocolate for this recipe. So you do wanna take the chocolate, if you're using a block, and break that up a little bit so it melts evenly. In here I have a 1/4 pound of chocolate and 2 tablespoons of butter. And this is in a bain marie. This is a round bottom bowl. Well, actually it's a bain marie specifically for cooking, but you can use a round bottom bowl too, and that works perfectly fine. Just something that doesn't have any ridges in it that the chocolate might get stuck in. I have a saucepan on the stove, and I brought that water to a boil. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna put this right on top without any additional heat, because chocolate really melts at body temperature, so we want very little heat. If you overheat it, then your chocolate can seize, so it's important to keep it at a low temperature, but just enough temperature to have it melt. So for a chocolate mousse, the next step is to take, we have 3 eggs, 3 large eggs we're going to use today, and I want to separate these, the whites from the yolks. And I'm going to use my hand to do this. You can use your egg separator if that's easier for you. I want to give you a little lesson on how to separate an egg by hand. The reason we like to do this, everybody in a restaurant or chef does it this way, is it's less likely to pop the yolk when you use your hand versus the shell. But really what I do is hold this, if you were, I guess, a baseball player, this would be some kind of a pitch that I don't know what the heck that's called, but looks like a fastball to me. Just crack it right in the middle like this, and I take my thumb and my index finger, and I just lift the top of that off, pour it in my hand. Now I've got my egg yolk in one bowl and my white in another bowl. I'm going to whip those whites as one ingredient in the souffle. The egg yolks will go in the chocolate. If I was really smart, I'd be dumping each one of these egg whites into my whipping bowl as I was doing this, because if I pop one of these yolks and it goes into my whites, all the whites are history. You don't want any fat in your egg whites because that'll interfere with their whipping. So clean hands, clean bowls, room temperature eggs. Egg whites whip better room temperature. So I'm using a copper bowl today. You definitely can make whipped egg whites without a copper bowl, but the copper reacts with the egg whites and it creates a stability in the eggs, and that's why we use it. I have 3 tablespoons of sugar here, and I am using a hand mixer. I usually use a hand mixer for egg whites. They do take longer than whipped cream. And what I want to do is take the egg whites, get them to soft, just kind of a soft peak, where the peaks just weep a little bit. And then I start drizzling the sugar in. I want to be able to have stiff peaks by the time this is done, kind of ending the sugar and the whipping at the same time. All right, this looks done to me. One of the things that you'll see in egg whites when they are at stiff peaks is they get really shiny. They gain a sheen. And you can see that. They don't entirely sit up exactly straight when I say stiff peaks, but the egg whites are very stiff. So the heavy cream is opposite, really, of the egg whites in that, and I had a nice cold bowl, nice cold cream. The colder it is, the more stable it is, the more volume you get when you whip it. I usually do heavy cream by hand, but I'll use the hand mixer because I already have it out. Why not? And we're going to whip this, I would describe it as just until it's thick. Fresh whipped cream doesn't get as kind of whippy as commercially made whipped cream, so think of it as very thick. So you'll see in this cream that it got dull. So when you start seeing it get dull, not as shiny, I know whipped cream's about done. So the chocolate is melted. Really have to pay very little attention to it if you're melting it at a really low heat like we did here at water bath. It's very gentle. To this I'm going to add the 3 egg yolks that we had earlier. Now when I mix these, I do want to get them in quickly. This chocolate isn't super hot, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue with scrambled eggs, but I do want to be quick about it. I'm going to just quickly toss those in there and mix those in. I have here 1 tablespoon of Frangelico. It's a hazelnut liqueur. You can also use Kahlua, Bailey's, rum, whiskey. No alcohol is perfectly fine too. I have my 1 tablespoon of Frangelico. People seem to love chocolate and hazelnut. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start adding my heavy cream. Or excuse me, not my heavy cream. I'm going to start adding my egg whites to the chocolate mixture. How we do this is we take about 1/3 of the egg white at a time. And we fold that in. Folding is this motion here. Basically just kind of follow the rubber spatula around the bottom of the bowl. I don't need to combine all of it. Don't make sure it doesn't have to be completely combined, just generally incorporate it after each addition. You want to try not to deflate the egg whites. That's really the wonderful thing about a mousse, is that it's light and fluffy and airy. The last addition of the egg whites, and then I'm going to put the whipped cream in and combine that. Now as soon as this is combined, you can go ahead and put it in your serving dishes if you like, and the mousse is done. We'll talk about garnishing later. But what I like to do is I actually like to chill it like this and then pipe it into some pretty glasses. It gives a little bit different, fancier presentation. So we're going to do that today. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and chill it for 2 hours. So our chocolate mousse is set for a couple hours. It's nice and chilled. Like I said, you can skip this step. You could have poured this right into your glasses and be done already. But I'm getting fancy. Put it in a pastry bag. And I'm going to pipe that into my glasses. Now I'm just going to take a glass at a time. Probably, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing it's probably not the best glass because it's going to be a little bit hard to get in there with your spoon. But that's okay. But you see how you see these piped marks in the mousse when you do it like this? I think that's kind of cool. So I made a little whipped cream. We do have a video for that as well. Just as a garnish, I like the contrast. I think it looks really pretty. Same kind of thing. Use my pastry bag. The final touch is going to be a little shaved chocolate. I just use my vegetable peeler and run down the side of a chocolate bar for some chocolate curves. An actual semi-sweet or milk chocolate will give you a little better curl than a dark chocolate. Put a few on there. Great. And that is how you make chocolate mousse.